the debt situation that we have in this country, what happens next?
There's not enough money to go around, right? We're spending a lot more than we're earning. And we have to do that partially because of this social redistribution, that necessity, and they can't take it all from taxes. And what that means is the printing of money. So what you do is you get more money. And so that devalues the value of money. In other words, cash is trash.
You still believe it?
Of course you don't. Look, this is guaranteed. You are not going to have an interest rate that's going to compensate you anywhere for inflation. And so we have this wonderful sugar high, which is to distribute the checks and so on. But that means everything else goes up in relationship to cash because it's better to borrow cash. That's just mechanics. So we have that dynamic underway. So we produce inflation. But what you do know is that interest rates must be below inflation rates in order to deal with all of that debt in order to finance it. And that depreciates the value of cash and money. So you have to invest it elsewhere. That's the dynamic, right? As equity prices go up, those excess returns go down. That's what produces more of a bubble. In other words, the lower returns there. And as that shrinks, and then if you should have rates to rise, that cushion narrows. And as that cushion narrows, you come into more and more danger zones. So that's what we're seeing happen. But we're simultaneously in this world in which nobody is really going to get paid for those assets. There's nothing that you can increase in supply quicker than money and credit. So let's look at it this way. There's a big increase in the value of financial assets. So think about yourself, each individual, and say how much of your net worth is in financial assets versus actual things, your house, your other things, your equity. And a lot of that money, there's too much of that money in financial assets that will never be able to get paid, because if you calculate how much is it in financial assets, and a financial asset is only a claim to buy goods and services, otherwise it's worthless.
So what do you do? Does that mean you want to be owning as much real estate as possible, levering yourself? Does that say to yourself that crypto and Bitcoin is more valuable than, I mean, this goes back to cash is trash. Where do you put the cash?
Okay. First, no, cash is trash. So don't keep it in cash, right? Second, the most important thing I think that an individual investor or any investor could do is know how to diversify well, because all those asset classes will outperform cash. When you can diversify well, and when I mean diversify across countries, currencies, asset classes, and so on, so that you have that balance. Then you take your tactical moves from there. But the most important thing, I think, is to know how to diversify well. I think most people are not doing that. I think most people think, okay, it's the stock market. And the stock market, I think, is relatively attractive in relationship to the alternatives. But that dynamic is going to start to change as monetary policy gets tighter and so on and so forth. So diversify well in those various areas. The country, the currency, the asset class. Bitcoin is a possibility, is that a merit? I have a certain amount of money in Bitcoin. It's a small percentage of that which I have in gold, which is a relatively small percentage of what I have in my other asset classes, and so on.
That regulation ultimately will make something like Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies have a future, or do you think regulation will kill it?
I think at the end of the day, if it's really successful, they'll kill it. And they'll try to kill it, and I think they will kill it because they have ways of killing it. But that doesn't mean it doesn't have, a place, a value, and so on. I think diversification values. It matters. I suspect the real question that investors should be asking themselves is how much stuff like that do they have? How much stuff do they have? Do they have gold? Okay, should we be talking about how much you have in gold versus how much you have in Bitcoin? That's the question, and however you go after it, I think that's the question to be answered.